ever felt like you're behind in life? Like you should have more things figured out by now? This episode is going to help you see that in a completely different way. I know you may think it's too late to change, but I'm here to tell you, you're not late. You're on God's time. If you're tired of feeling stuck in life and doubting yourself and want simple steps to stop overthinking, gain clarity, and start living your dream, you're in the right place. Hi, I'm Sarah Tyke, a midlife mom, chronic overthinker, and your dream activator. I learned the secret of how to overcome self-doubt and stop overthinking. Take small, practical steps to create the life you dream of. If you're ready to see the possibilities, transform your mindset, and take the first step forward, grab a pen and a journal and meet me in the Dream Lab. Welcome to Reinventing Life After 40. I'm your host, Sarah Tyke. Today, we're talking about comparisons and feeling behind in life. Feeling like you should be doing something else or you should be farther ahead. All of those shoulds. Or feeling like it's too late to do what you really want to do. Too late to have that life that you've been dreaming of. So let's start with Ecclesiastes, because this was the first thing that came to my mind when thinking about feeling behind and being too late. Ecclesiastes 3:1. To everything there is a season, a time for every purpose under heaven. And I don't know how many of you have listened to music from the 50s and 60s. I grew up listening to that even though I was born in the 80s. I loved the music from the 50s and 60s, and the band The Byrds have a song called Turn, Turn, Turn. And it was a while, maybe as like late teenager, early adult, that I realized that song is Ecclesiastes, chapter 3. And I didn't realize that the whole song, I always liked that song. I was like, oh, that's a really cool song. Well, it's because they're singing Bible verses, which I thought was pretty cool. So, to everything there is a season, a time, to every purpose under heaven. And then verses 2-8 continue on with all of these good and bad things for which there is a time. There's a time to be born and a time to die, a time to kill and a time to heal, a time to weep and a time to laugh, a time to cast away stones, a time to gather stones together, a time to keep, a time to throw away. So it goes on like this, where there's always a time for something good and something bad. And there's a reason for it. All of these things have purpose. So I often feel like I should be doing something else, or maybe I should have done something else with my life. Because I think I've mentioned this, but I was an astronomy major in school. And that was my whole plan, was to go and be an astrophysicist, a professor, all this. So I got the degrees and everything, but I'm not doing that, obviously. I'm working at a biotech company. Never have done anything related to astronomy professionally. Because I never finished the degree. I never got my PhD. So I feel like, well, what was all that for? Maybe it was just wasted. Like, why did I spend all that time getting this astronomy degree? I should probably be doing something in astronomy. I got the degree for it. I spent the time and the money. And I love doing it. I love astronomy. But I'm not doing that, so I'm always thinking, oh, I should be doing something else. I should have gone a different direction. Maybe I should have majored in biology in school. I should have done something else. And of course, all that, what I should have done in the past, that doesn't matter, because obviously I can't go back in time. But also, I have to remind myself that if I hadn't majored in astronomy and gone to the particular school that I did, I wouldn't have met my best friend. And she and I have been friends since I've been in school, so a good, 20, 25 years. But I only met her because I was in that major at that time, at that school. And I met my husband because I was up late at night after I failed my first semester of grad school. He and I actually met online, and after my first semester of grad school, I bombed it. I failed it. And it was kind of at the point where I had to consider if I was going to drop out or change majors, or what was I going to do. So I decided to take the summer off after that first year of school. And I was just up at night all the time because I couldn't sleep. I was just worried about what am I going to do, because this was the only thing I liked doing, was physics and astronomy. And I didn't know what else I was going to do. So I was up late at night. And this was in the age of chat rooms. And he also happened to be online in a chat room because he had weird hours where he worked. And we just happened to meet in there and we were just chatting. And eventually we met in person and all this and got married. But if I hadn't failed, if I hadn't, you know, been so worried and I guess, depressed about failing school and not knowing where I was going to be in life, I wouldn't have been up that late at night, in the online chat rooms. And that's how I met him. So, was the purpose of me majoring in astronomy and going to these particular schools and going to grad school, was it so that I could get a piece of paper and a degree? Or was it to meet some of the most important people in my life? So, I think these difficult situations are things where maybe they didn't quite go the way I thought they should go, actually went exactly how they were supposed to go because I met people. I had the experience. I met my best friend and my husband going this path. And I wouldn't change that for the world. And there's a pastor that I listen to online. His name is Pastor David Lankford. He only has an online ministry called The Voice of Evangelism. Highly recommend it. But he often says, our God is the latest on time God ever. Meaning, we think that God isn't working in our lives because things aren't happening when we think they should. But He is at work, and He has it all planned out perfectly, and it's all going according to His timeline. So even though you think that you're behind and things aren't working, well, God is at work, and He knows what you're doing. He knows where you are. He knows where you're going to be. He has it all planned out, and it will unfold according to His timeline. So it may seem like He's late, but He's on time, and it all works out. We just can't see it from our perspective. So, point one, the feeling of being behind is often rooted in comparison because we like to measure ourselves against others or societal timelines. And start noticing when this comparison shows up in your life. When you start feeling like, oh, I should be doing this. I should have a different job. I should be farther ahead. I should have had the promotion. Should. Start noticing when that comes up and think about why are you comparing? Is it, or why do you feel like you should have done something? Is it because you're comparing yourself to, your friend or your colleague? Because there have been times in my life when I've looked at other people and I thought, man, I wish I had what they had. Whether it was better grades in school or like this really great magnetic personality that everybody's just drawn to and everybody loves this person. I wish I could be like that. Or their house or their business or whatever it was. I'm always thinking, I wish I had something else. I wish I had what they had. And of course, now that I'm a parent, the comparison becomes a parenting thing. Am I a good enough mom? Am I doing it right? I'm not doing what she's doing over here. I'm not doing this. I'm not doing that. Does that make me bad? So it just keeps going on and on, comparing myself to other people. And these comparisons just they're not fair because I have a different life than this person over here. And in order to have what they have, whether it's their house, the business, the job, whatever, I would have to be that person. I would have to go through everything that they went through. I would have to have their family and their life to be on their path. And I realized that that's almost like a terrifying thought to me because I don't want anybody else's life. I love my family that I have now. I love how I grew up with the family I had and all of my experiences. And I wouldn't trade any of that. But to have what somebody else has, I would have to trade my life. You don't get both of them. You can't have everything that you like about your life now and have everything that the other person has because everybody's gone through something. Everybody's been through some trial, some dark point in their life, and I don't want that. I don't want anybody else's path. I want mine, and I want what God has for me. So these comparisons aren't really fair. And so kind of realizing that a while ago that if I am going to keep comparing myself to somebody and wanting what other people have, that means that I would have to be that person, and I don't want that. So that kind of helps me keep things in perspective, like, I really don't want what they have. So kind of notice where these comparisons start showing up in your life. So when I start kind of comparing myself and start wishing that I had something that other people have, I start looking at other people thinking, I wish I had that, I wish I had that. I like to try to remind myself of a Bible verse, John 21, verses 21 through 22. So this is after Jesus has risen and he's with the apostles and he's taking Peter aside. And the verses read, Peter, seeing him, the apostle John, said to Jesus, "But Lord, what about this man?" Jesus said to him, "If I will that he remain till I come, what is that to you? You follow me." And I always try to keep that in mind because here's Peter asking Jesus, "Well, what about John back there? Why are you taking me?" And I think John was following them. And so Peter's asking Jesus, "What about this guy?" And Jesus says, "What business is it of yours? What happens to him? That's not your concern. You follow me." So I always try to remember that when you start thinking about what other people have, um, you know, really what business is it of yours? God has a plan for you. You follow God. That will take care of all that you need, is if you just follow God. Don't worry about what anybody else is doing. You follow God and you will be taken care of. Okay, point 2. There is no universal timeline for life because everyone has different paths, different priorities, different circumstances. We've all had to go through our trials and tribulations, and all of those things have made you who you are. And God's planned it that way. And we need everyone to have their own circumstances, their own personality, because then we're all different. And then we need like all of those puzzle pieces to make a whole puzzle. You can't just have, it'd be really boring if you had the same piece. If every puzzle piece was just like a square, it'd be easy, it'd be boring, kind of pointless. So you need all the different puzzle pieces, all the different shapes and colors and sizes. You got to have all of it so you can have a full picture. So, and also realize that you don't usually know other people's full story, because for some reason we always like to compare ourselves to people that we don't even know. And your path is unfolding differently from theirs. So again, it's not even a fair comparison. So start questioning these shoulds that you have. Why should you be farther ahead? Or why should you be in a different job? There might be a very valid reason for it, but a lot of times there isn't, and it's just you comparing, I'll get it, comparing yourself to other people. Often unfairly, because again, you don't know what that person's been through to get there. And again, what is it to you what they've done? You've got your own life, you've got your own path, your own direction. Point 3, midlife is actually a powerful time to make changes and to change direction. Because at this point in your life, you have more clarity, experience, and self-awareness. You've been through some stuff, and even if you haven't done a whole lot as far as like experiential things, if nothing else, if you're at a point where you're thinking that you need a change, you've probably been thinking about it for a while. You've had time, it's not a whim anymore. It's not just like some whim of your 20s where you just want to go off and do something. If you've been thinking about something and you're in your 40s, you've probably been thinking about it for a while. So you know that it's not just a whim. It's something that you really want to do. So you have some clarity and you have more self-awareness at this age. So now when you do decide to make a change, it'll probably be, under a little more stable conditions, and it'll be a little more serious, less likely, I would think, to fail, because at this point you're probably feeling like you can't afford to fail. So you're really going to put in the effort into something that's very meaningful to you. So start shifting your thinking from I'm behind to I'm just getting started in a new way or a new direction. I'm just changing course. And it's never too late to start working toward your dream life, to start doing something that you've always dreamed about. There are plenty of people throughout history who have done great work after 40s and 50s, and I've often heard on a couple of podcasts that I listen to that there are people who will start painting in their 60s. They'll start writing in their 50s or 60s. And I don't know if you guys know the Little House on the Prairie series, the books. I used to watch the TV show when I was a kid. I loved it. But Laura Ingalls Wilder published her first Little House book at age 65. And I didn't know that. I assumed that she'd done this when she was a much younger woman. So at 65, she publishes her first Little House book. And that was a, pretty successful series, I would say. And you have a lot of influential leaders. Mahatma Gandhi did some of his best work after 60. Susan B. Anthony, after 50, she did a lot of her most pivotal, renowned work. So it's never too late to start doing something that you want to do. And very often, you can do small things, and that's what this whole podcast is about, is that you don't need to start changing your entire life and uprooting everything. If you're 60 and you decide that I've never done a painting and I want to paint, well, go get some art supplies, watch a YouTube video. Especially nowadays with the internet, you can find instructional videos, at least on how to get started doing pretty much anything on the internet for free. And yeah, you'll have to spend, some money to get supplies or, to get something, but even you can get it pretty cheaply, I would think. I mean, there's always ways to do it. So if you think I don't have the money to do it, I don't have the time, I bet you do. I bet you can find a way. And that's what I'm here to help you guys with. Because I don't think that you should have roadblocks like time and money that keep you from living your dream life. Because I don't think that God planned that for you. I don't think he said, I'm going to give this person a dream and I'm not going to give them the resources to fulfill it. Because that's not the kind of God that we serve. He cares about you. He loves you. He will make a way for you to do what it is he has planned for you. And always remember, you're not behind. You're on God's time. So your homework for this week is going to be to notice yourself comparing yourself or your life or whatever to anything else. Even if it's not to another person, just comparing maybe what you think you should have to what you do have. Just this fantasy life that you have of what you should be doing. So when you notice yourself comparing, pause and ask yourself, what do I actually want right now? Why are you making this comparison? And then if you have the chance to do it, write it down just so you can remember for later. And again, I'm always big about writing things down because then you can go back and read. And if there's patterns that come up, maybe you're always comparing how you look or your job or how much money you make. If those are themes that come up, then it kind of makes it easier to address maybe something that's really going on. But just notice when you're comparing and try to stop and think about why you're making that comparison and what do you really want right now. And not necessarily what do you want 10 years from now, but like right now, like when you're making that comparison, what is it? What is it that's making you feel like you need whatever somebody else has or what some imaginary version of yourself has? And your reflection question for the week is, who or what am I comparing myself to? And is it even a fair comparison? And you could be comparing yourself to, like I said, some fantasy version of yourself. Like sometimes I feel like, I should be a 40 pounds lighter version of myself. I'm not sure that's realistic anymore, but I keep thinking that is something I should be working toward. So it doesn't have to always be somebody else. It can just be some version of yourself, and consider if that's a fair comparison. All right, to wrap up, point 1, feeling behind usually comes from comparison, not truth. 2, there is no one timeline for life. We all have our own, and it's one that's meant for us. 3, you're not late. You're simply on your own path. All right, guys, that's all I got for you for this episode. If you enjoy this podcast, please follow it, like it, subscribe it, leave comments or reviews if you can. I would love to know if it's helping you guys, what you are interested in hearing more about. If you're interested in sharing any of your experiences, I would love to engage with you guys. Again, at some point I will have websites and social media and all this. But for now, if you would please follow the podcast. And if you like this episode, please share it with somebody else who might need this reminder that they're not late, they're not behind. And I will talk to you guys later. Thanks for listening. Bye. Hi, friend. I hope you enjoyed today's episode. If so, would you take 30 seconds and share it with a friend who may want to get inspired to start living their dream? Also, please leave a review wherever you're listening. It lights me up to know that this podcast is helping you. Take a step forward today. It doesn't have to be big, but it does have to be done. I'll meet you back here next week for another episode. Bye.